everyone. This is LeiLani Cauthen, your host from the Learning Council. I'm CEO and publisher here of our news, media, and research organization. I'm also an EduJedi Grand Master. I've been doing a lot of work with the EduJedi Leadership Society in the past couple of months. I think we've had over 17 meetings to talk about definitions of terms in digital curriculum, the new digital learning experience standards, and the new EduJedi instructional design models. So that's been a lot. You might hear us talk about some of that today when Chris McMurray joins us. But I want to start off the morning with just making sure take a break. Anytime, keep your browser tab open for the event. Ask questions, raise your hand, put things in chat. We want to be engaged with you along the way. So I'm LeiLani Cauthen again, and Doug is in the background making sure everything's working and that your questions are being answered. We want to thank ClassLink and VitalSource for being major sponsors of this event and others that we'll be doing across the nation this year, some live and some still virtual. All right, so this is the day, how we're going to roll along. We have Dr. Jennifer Burks with us, the Associate Superintendent of Technology Innovation from Poway Unified. Then we'll be going into a lunch and learn moment that's really about what the EduJedi work has been doing. Then we'll give a whole review of the EduJedi digital learning experience standards. Ellen Palmer is going to share with us the work that she's been doing. And then we'll be working later on with Scott Spector, who's from Santa Barbara County. So we have with us again, Dr. Jennifer Burks, and you're going to introduce someone that's not Dr. Marian Kim Phelps because of an emergency, right? So go ahead. I think both of you guys are on mute. I'm turning over the screen share to Poway so they can show us what's happening with them and introduce themselves. We also have Lana Nguyen with us. So Dr. Jennifer Burks, you want to give an intro?
Absolutely. Welcome, and thank you for having us today. We are really excited on behalf of our superintendent, Dr. Marian Kim Phelps, and the Poway Unified School District. Lana and I are very excited to present here at Learning Council. We will go ahead and put up our presentation right now, which is pushing innovation in spite of a pandemic. We are really excited to share some of the great things that are happening in Poway Unified School District. Next slide. So again, to introduce myself, I'm Dr. Jennifer Burks on behalf of our superintendent, Dr. Marian Kim Phelps. And with me today is Lana Nguyen, our Director of Educational Technology. So what we would love, if you're interested, if you're on Twitter, is to take a moment and follow all of us. We also have our innovation page, which encompasses all of the innovative videos and social media posts that we have taking place, and that is at PUSD Innovate. So if you have an opportunity to follow all of us, we'd love that. Next slide. So before we get started on pushing innovation in spite of a pandemic, we'd like to share our PUSD vision and mission with all of you. Our vision here at Poway is to create culture and conditions to empower world-class learners. And this is really at the forefront of all that we do and all the decisions that we make on how to innovate and how to move forward as a district. Our mission for Poway Unified is inspiring passion and preparing every student to thrive in college, career, and life by providing personalized, rich, and rigorous learning experiences. Next slide. So in a recent article, which inspired today's presentation around pushing innovation beyond a pandemic, our superintendent shared the following quote: "I believe in change. I believe in the power it has to unite and ignite us. Never has this been more true than during this pandemic. Change is difficult, but it is worthwhile. And in many ways, this pandemic has pushed those of us in education to fast forward our efforts and to bring learning in and beyond the 21st century. While so many other industries and occupations have incorporated technology successfully into their work, education as a whole has been relatively slow to adapt. And we want to take this opportunity to celebrate the innovation that's taking place in Poway Unified and in education across the nation. Next slide. Before we jump into these great things, I want to take a minute just to share some background information. Who is Poway? What are we? What are some of our demographics and so forth? We are located in northeastern San Diego County in California, and the district spans over 100 square miles. We are the third largest district in the county and the 21st largest district in the state of California. We have over 36,000 students and over 4,000 certificated and classified staff. And this is just a little bit of data to point out, we have 25 elementary schools, 6 middle schools, 1 K-8 school, 5 comprehensive high schools, 1 continuation high school, a new virtual school, which we're going to share about in our presentation, and an adult school. And you can see some of the student demographics on the right side of this screen. Okay, next slide.
Inclusive,
Sorry about
even
that.
for the students who have opted to remain in.
Perfect. So despite the pandemic, our district has continued to move forward with many innovations. During this presentation, we're going to highlight 4 of these initiatives that are on this slide that we have implemented over the past 18 months. Some of those have been taking longer in development, but really over the 18 months, these are the things that we've honed in on. Our enduring practices, our innovative professional development model, concurrent teaching, and our new K-8 virtual school, which we call Connect Academy. Other initiatives that you see on this slide that we are really proud of and want to touch on, but we just don't have enough time in today's presentation, but they have positively impacted PUSD, are our racial equity and inclusive practices work that strives to empower student success by ensuring safe, inclusive, innovative, and equitable learning environments for each and every student. Strategies employed to increase communication with our families across the district, and the implementation of a one-to-one technology program for all of our learners. Next slide. One of the positive outcomes that came from the pandemic is what we are calling enduring practices. These enduring practices are silver linings of virtual instruction that we have looked to carry over into the 21-22 school year. Teachers were able to continuously adapt to their new environment by growing in their technical skills, reevaluating their practices, and embracing a variety of tools and innovative strategies to best meet the needs of our students. In this short video, we would like to share this list of enduring practices that we've compiled from PUSD teachers, our professional learning leaders, our administrators, and other stakeholder groups. This past year undoubtedly brought unique teaching and learning experiences, and throughout, our mindsets about learning have expanded.
We are very excited to bring you the best of virtual learning to an in-person instruction through our enduring practices.
Looking back, we can reflect on several silver linings from these experiences.
Teachers were able to continuously adapt to the new environment by growing in their technical skills, reevaluating their practices, and embracing a variety of tools and innovative strategies to best meet the needs of their students.
Students, also growing in their technical skills, demonstrated advocacy and independence in learning from home.
Students have showcased their resilience, capacity for flexibility, and their capabilities in navigating self-paced learning and technology as a learning tool.
Capitalizing on the momentum of the past year and unprecedented shifts in education, we would like to share a list of enduring practices to use in our future-focused classrooms.
This list was compiled by PUSD teachers, professional learning leaders, administrators, and other stakeholders. Here are the top picks for bringing the best of virtual to the in-person classroom.
Adaptive learning. Adaptive programs such as Lexia and iReady allow students to follow customized learning paths while providing teachers with detailed information to inform their instruction.
Consistency of Canvas. Using a single learning management system streamlines content delivery and communication with students and families. Shared virtual schedules provide teachers and students with a structured way to organize their learning and access resources from a central location.
Alternatives to instruction and assessment. Utilizing flipped and self-paced learning supports independent learning. Back channels, virtual collaboration platforms, and alternative response tools create equitable classroom conversations. Various technology tools allow teachers to quickly assess students in real time and access data immediately.
Rethinking structures and pacing. Leveraging flexible learning environments and self-paced learning to provide small group instruction and meet individual student needs. Using Zoom to offer virtual meetings to provide flexible access for families and students to meet with teachers.
Personalizing learning and providing voice and choice. Allowing students to choose what, how, and/or the pace at which they learn individualizes learning and increases student engagement. Focusing on student strengths, interests, and aspirations creates relevant and meaningful learning experiences.
Increased cognitive empathy and emphasis on SEL and relationships. A whole child approach creates an environment where each child feels known, safe, valued, supported, and challenged. Empowering students and teachers to build safe, healthy, and just communities by addressing various forms of inequity.
We hope you continue to integrate these enduring practices with your students.
Don't forget to follow us on social media for all things EdTech and Poway Unified.
All of our videos are available on our YouTube channel for PUSD under our technology innovation.
Okay, thank you. So to move on with our presentation, we want to share a little bit about how we have innovated our PD model. So first off, to support teaching and learning throughout the pandemic and beyond, PUSD has redesigned our professional learning models to support the needs of all educators by offering synchronous and asynchronous opportunities. In the following highlight video, you will see how we have revamped one of our district-wide professional learning days. We've integrated various digital platforms to personalize learning options and created a professional learning network via Twitter.
Good morning, Team PUSD. I wanted to welcome everybody today to the Elementary Professional Growth Day. The learning catalog is impressive, and honestly, I wish I could join every one of these sessions.
All live sessions are going to be recorded for future access, and I am sure happy about that. There are so many I can't fit in to 2 hours.
Please join me for an action-packed session on orchestrating collaborative and creative math with technology.
Hi everyone, it's Patrick, and in this session, you'll be learning more about your students' strengths, interests, and aspirations. The virtual professional growth day learning sessions were designed based on teacher input, needs, and interests. There were 3 types of session formats. First, live sessions had 1 to 2 facilitators who presented in real time. Sessions included academic discourse and thinking protocols, Canvas Studio, tips and tricks for the on-campus classroom, Flipgrid, and many more. The second session format type was the asynchronous sessions. These sessions were pre-recorded training videos that allowed teachers to learn at their own pace. Several sessions offered a live Q&A through Zoom if teachers had any questions for facilitators. Lastly, self-paced sessions were designed for teachers to explore and learn at their own pace. Courses may include videos, articles, examples, and/or resources. You can see here in the Canvas module, teachers can choose the topic that they are most interested in. Check out some of our sessions.
Thank you for joining us and welcome to the session on Benchmark Advanced Social Justice Lessons. This is perfect timing as our school district, school board, and community members have begun work around social equity and inclusion. All right, hi, and welcome to Fitting It All In, a virtual experience. How might we purposely integrate technology to enhance student learning?
once again, a huge shout out, hip hip hooray, to all of our ed tech team, our PLLs, and our session facilitators. Yeah.
As you saw in our video, we really leveraged the technology tools such as StreamYard and YouTube to engage with our audience during the pandemic. As we know, personalization is essential in order to support the diverse learning needs across PUSD. And even though we couldn't be together in person, our educators, our staff really had the opportunity to connect, engage, and learn. And as we identified in our enduring practices, rethinking our structures with Zoom really allows access for all teachers to get the professional development and learning. And here you'll see a sample or a closer look at our digital PD catalog, and which was created via Canva, a graphic design platform. And this document updates in real time with links to live, self-paced, or pre-recorded professional learning sessions. And educators have the opportunity to choose a session type that best fits their needs, schedules, and interests. So I'm going to pass it back to Dr. Burks.
So this past year, our Technology and Innovation Department designed the concurrent teaching model and trained all of our secondary teachers on this model. We define the concurrent teaching model. Sometimes it can be defined as a simultaneous type of teaching model, but it can be defined as providing instruction to students attending class both virtually and in person and doing that simultaneously. This video that we'll share in just a moment highlights how PUSD has met the needs of both our teachers and our students during the pandemic to provide the most equitable learning experiences possible. This model is also being adapted to support AB 130 and some of the requirements for independent study, as well as some of our short-term independent study requirements for students who might need to quarantine or who are at home with COVID-related symptoms. So this has been a model that we're now moving into our elementary, and we provided these trainings for all of our teachers, both through office hours, in person, virtual, and we now are integrating in our learning management system these courses to have teachers be able to move through them in a self-paced type of way. So we will share this brief video of what that concurrent teaching model looks like.
At Del Norte High School, students line up for health screenings before heading onto campus. They're attending class in person with their teachers who are participating in a pilot program with PUSD's Technology and Innovation Department, testing out what's called a simultaneous or concurrent teaching model.
A concurrent teaching model it's a model of teaching where we're able to serve our students both virtually and on campus simultaneously in the same classroom.
Essentially, technology is set up in the classroom to allow teachers to reach all of their students at the same time.
The solution that we created is giving teachers the flexibility to deliver their instruction simultaneously without creating separate work for each of those groups of students.
We visited a few of these pilot classrooms to see what this might look like. In Scott Coates' AP Government class, students were discussing the Federalist Papers. The in-person students were divided into small groups, and the virtual students were divided into breakout rooms on Zoom.
What about their term makes it justifiable?
Mr. Coates moved from the in-person groups to the virtual groups, dropping in on each to answer questions and spur discussion. Students in the breakout rooms were able to signal that they needed help. Students in person could raise their hand to get Mr. Coates' attention. A microphone and speaker in the classroom allowed both the in-person students and virtual to hear each other's questions and Mr. Coates' responses. Mr. Jim Krenz teaches math. He has one camera focused on the whiteboard and another on his desktop, and he can switch between the two to control what his online students see in Zoom. He says he thought the biggest barrier would be mastering the technology.
I just grew into this, and I had zero technology experience coming into this. And so what I just told myself is anything that you do different than the distance learning is going to be better, no matter what, and just constantly try to improve, right? So if you try this or something similar to it, things are going to pop up that you're not going to be happy with, but you're going to know what those are. And if they're fixable, dude, you'll figure it out. I mean, because if I can, anybody can, honestly.
Did you already got any questions?
Mr. Krenz feels his online students and in-person students both benefit from this way of teaching.
So there is a lot going through my head about just thinking about the kids virtually, but if I think about them and get their instruction where it needs to be, the kids who are here in-house in my classroom, it's just even more powerful for them. It was no more work for the kids to come into class.
In Miss Kimberly Pytel's chemistry class, she was preparing students for a lab on light spectra using a spectroscope. Ms. Pytel guided both her virtual and in-person students through the steps to take for the lab.
We changed the lab so that it was fully virtual, obviously, for this year. But because I happened to have kids in the classroom today, and this happened to be the day that we planned as our chemistry department to do this lab, I figured I might as well give them that sort of in-person opportunity, but also moved my computer, brought it to the actual gas tube, and showed the kids at home what the kids in class were seeing, so that it was a little bit more, personal in class.
She explained that her experience with virtual learning helped prepare her for this pilot program.
So for me, I knew all of the things that I was working with. It was just one extra piece for me to add on to like what I normally do is having, 2 computers logged into a Zoom and being able to switch back and forth between those. And I don't know if I was really intimidated by any of it personally, but that's not to say that it wasn't a challenge. I mean, I would say give yourself grace. I think that, our students are very understanding and know that those things are going to go wrong, especially the first week that you practice. I think if it's better for any kids, for me, it's worth it.
Teachers interested in piloting the concurrent teaching model can contact their principal. The Technology and Innovation Department will work with secondary school sites to support the implementation of this model.
So while Lana's pulling the presentation back up, what I did want to share that might be a question is, what technology did you add and what did you have existing? So what we currently have in our classrooms is a desktop for our teachers, a document camera, a projector, and a screen. What we added was a laptop for teachers that added some of that flexibility to be able to move around the classroom. We also had webcams for teachers if they needed those, because potentially some of our monitors did not have a camera built in. So we had webcams that we were able to supplement with. And then this equipment integrated with the existing document cameras. We had been growing our Chromebooks and our one-to-one technology over the past few years. So moving through, we did purchase additional Chromebooks to be able to move our district to a one-to-one. Thank you. Next slide, please. So the last innovative, something innovative that came from the pandemic that we want to share about is our Connect Academy. And this is our new K-8 virtual school. And this is something that we had envisioned for Poway Unified, but I would say the pandemic really pushed and moved this forward, expedited this Connect Academy through PUSD. PUSD has designed Connect Academy as a K-8 virtual school that provides an innovative approach to instruction. This model blends together the best elements of on-campus schooling and online education to offer our families a flexible environment that is student-centered and focused. We know that we had a lot of students thrive during the pandemic and in a virtual setting, and that they wanted to continue a virtual setting and a blended learning atmosphere onward and moving into the next few years. And so this year that allowed us to bring forward Connect Academy. It also has a focus on digital arts and computer science. And our goal is to be able to expand that as a K-12. And it does have a unique approach. It aligns with all of our curriculum, but there is more flexibility built into that to design it in a way that allows students to explore PUSD curriculum with their strengths, their interest, and their passions at the forefront, while also becoming a community of creative, collaborative, and empowered learners. We currently have approximately 500 students in our district are participating in Connect Academy this year. So with that, we'll share just a short video of Connect Academy and what that looks like.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jennifer Burks, Associate Superintendent of Technology and Innovation at Poway Unified School District. Our goal is to create culture and conditions to empower world-class learners. And we are so excited to announce Connect Academy, our new K-8 virtual school, which provides an innovative and flexible approach to instruction.
Hi, my name is Jill Halsey, the Director of Connect Academy and Digital Learning. We are a learner-centered, future-focused program here to inspire and support strengths, interests, and passions while building courage, empathy, kindness, and resilience in each and every learner to ensure a world-class learning environment. Welcome.
I feel that way because this is something really new to me, and this is an adventure on Connect Academy. I feel good, like I'm going into first grade, I'm going into second grade, I'm sorry. I'm just so excited.
So we are really proud and really excited of Connect Academy and to watch that grow. We have an amazing staff. We have approximately 19 certificated staff in our grade levels, and our middle school does run as a traditional middle school. So students do change classes for each of their subjects. And so we are really proud of it. We would be happy to share more about it. There is a lot of information about Connect Academy on our website, because what we feel is that this has propelled us into what we wanted to be able to offer and to be able to support each and every one of our learners here in PUSD. And we know that not every student learns the same way. So to be able to provide opportunities for our students is something that we're really proud of here. Next slide. So that concludes our presentation. We do have a few minutes for questions. As we shared before, please follow us on Twitter. Our videos are available on our YouTube channel. They will be embedded in today's presentation. But I'm happy to open it up to any particular questions if you want to ask or put them in the chat.
Okay, so I'm going to be watching for questions too, but I really want to ask you about logistics. So this is something Learning Council has focused our research attention on a lot in the last year because everybody was in a mutation pattern. They were looking at master schedules, talking about the concurrent teaching. It's also called simultaneous teaching in other places, and what that was going to mean, and doing things like sectioning students into multi-grades where some of them were only in the building 1 week and others were in another week, and then there were alternate days, or maybe everybody had Friday off and it was all virtual learning, and then there was wild variance to the block schedules. Now when you add in this concurrent teaching thing, it gets to be a little exhausting. So we're seeing in our most recent survey 74% of teachers claiming they're overwhelmed. They love it. A lot of them love it, but they're overwhelmed, and it's a different sort of thing you got to be doing. So talk to me a little bit about the logistics of all of this. I mean, you have even the other side, which is the all online. What'd you say, 19 teachers? Can you address some of those logistics issues?
Sure. One of the things we wanted to make sure was that we were able to provide the supports for teachers. We know what a challenge, the pandemic has been. It is overwhelming. We are overwhelmed. Teachers are overwhelmed. There's a lot. And so we wanted to make sure that we could provide them with as many resources and supports as possible. And so when we started looking at the concurrent model and what that could look like, what we wanted to say and look at as previous teachers, all of us in our ed tech department have been teachers, is what can we do and how can we make it easy for teachers to be able to reach all their students in a way that doesn't add all these different layers. There's not all of these technical components. And so we spent hours working with teachers, going into classrooms, demoing, testing, getting a few teachers to pilot so that we could build out a model that would then be accessible to all of our teachers. So we built that into our learning management system so that teachers would be able to access that at their own time, their own location. And so if that's during the school day, if that's in the evening, if that's at home, if that's, sitting, on a soccer field or outside, you would be able to access that through your LMS. And so we would provide that and then the step-by-step. And then we would accompany that also with, here's an infographic that's going to walk you through all of those steps. Here's a tech and innovation coach that can come to your site and help train you in a group of teachers. Here's office hours that you can join for 15 minutes just to ask questions. And then we also have our IT staff who would be able to support any of those actual hardware concerns. This isn't working, I'm not hearing the sound, and so forth. So I think that was a place where we were able to offer support. That doesn't necessarily mean it made it easier, but giving grace and knowing that we're going to learn through some of our mistakes and, we're going to fail forward. Students were great in the fact that we said, let's test this for a couple days. And then let's look at what this would look like when I didn't have students in there. Now I have a small group of students coming in. How does that look? And try to manage going between a screen and going between, students in class. How do I look at that as Zoom as a whole? So I don't get interference. I don't get all of these other pieces. And so I think the other component of that is the independent study. In our district, we have now a Connect Academy K-8 virtual school. We also have a home education program, and we also have a program that offers 7th through 12th grade independent study, which is more your traditional independent study. And so we did have 3 also independent study ways that students would be able to access their learning. And so I think we're really looking moving forward is how do we continue to offer these supports to our teachers and these innovative learning opportunities to our students.
Awesome. Okay, so the other thing I want to also ask about is I noticed that you you use both the template systems like Canvas, where it's basically a blank and things are put in there, and also full courseware like Lexia, which is sort of a paradigm shift. And the role of the teacher in the full courseware, which is being used competitively in the consumer markets, just massive growth in that arena.
Mm-hmm.
How are you leading teachers to think about those two modalities? Because one is a very specific refinement of the human intersection, the exact thing the teacher's doing. It's very precise in the teaching versus the traditional model of, sort of stand and deliver for an hour.
I think we've done a lot through our professional development. And one of the things that we offer for our district is a program called the Voyager Program. And it's a TK through 12 model that provides teachers an opportunity to sign up and receive bi-monthly embedded coaching. So it's twofold, that teachers receive professional development as a whole, which then helps them build their network, their professional learning network across the district and across the nation. And it also provides that embedded coaching. And the coaches that go in, our tech and innovation coaches, are highly trained, highly skilled in coaching, in cognitive, collaborative, and expert coaching. They're trained in instructional practices, classroom management, and that they come in meeting the teachers where they're at. And so it's really about shifting the mindset of looking at the program as how do I change the way we teach? How do we have students think differently? How do we incorporate those skills of collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, and so forth, and provide voice and choice for our students? So we may need to meet this standard of mastery, but the path a student takes to meet that standard can vary. That can be based on their strengths, interests, and passions. It can be based on something that they're interested in doing. And that's not every lesson, but it is providing that voice and choice for students to be able to say, I want to express the way that I would know this standard in a way through a video, through an assignment, through a flip grid, through, different activities that they would use. And so I think that's been a really big piece is that coaching with the instructional strategies to really start to help us think differently about the way that students learn and the way that we want students to learn. And I think that started with our professional development by providing voice and choice to teachers, by the fact that teachers can have a voice and choice in what they want to, and it's not a sit and get type of professional development. We all go to this one. Obviously, if it's a textbook adoption, it might be a little bit different, but if it's really learning, it should be about some voice and choice, and that teachers are saying, I need more in this area or that area, and I want to learn more about that. And that's how students want to do that too. And so I think we've been able to segue our professional development with instructional strategies, with voice and choice, and use our learning management system and standardize that across the board for ease of use for students and for our families, but then also bring in these full courseware programs like Alexia, like, an iReady, and or an Imagine Learning, to be able to look at how computer adaptive and personalized software can also pinpoint ways that teachers need to dive into working with particular students. And how can I support in this particular area? Because these programs allow us to look at that data. And so 2 areas that we really focus on are balanced instruction, especially with technology. There does need to be a balance. And what are we using technology for? And if we look at that SAMR model, what are we redefining? Are we, or are we substituting? And so really looking at that, and then also providing meaningful feedback, and it's data-driven meaningful feedback to students, student conferencing, meeting with the students. What are your goals? Share where you're at, and using that full courseware to supplement and provide that targeted instruction.
Perfect. Well, I know, Chris, if you could hold on, I want to ask her one more question before we release her back into the wild. Thank you so much, Dr. Burks. But one more kind of interesting question to ask you for our viewers, and that is, what do you want to do next? Where are you going in terms of the vision of the future? And I really want to be specific in terms of the pressures you're seeing from all directions. Are you feeling another model shift? And let me just contextualize that before you answer. So what we were talking about yesterday in the event is there's these 8 models that are in our special report. And one of them is called hybrid logistics, which reorganizes spaces, the structure of how you do things, into Uberizing the teaching moment. So you're in large homerooms, then as you go through pace-wise, like courseware, it triggers based on cohort size. Now there's a teaching moment. Everybody go to room, 1B, where the teacher will meet up with you, so to speak. Have you gone into those sort of thoughts in the management sphere about the pressure you're feeling from every direction, and then maybe what's going to happen in the future?
That's a great question. I think, we've really looked at some of our coursework, especially I think in the area where we're now providing a variety of learning options for students. So I think really with our independent study, so our Connect Academy is under our independent study. What does that look like? And, I think last year during the pandemic, our virtual instruction mimicked a lot of what you would see in a classroom, but you just happen to be virtual. And now I think we have to really think differently. What does a virtual school look like? How do we do that differently to keep that engagement, to build that culture and community amongst our students? So I think that's a really important area to be looking at that we're honing in a little bit. And then how do we take a look at some of our online courses for high school students who prefer either a hybrid option. Maybe they're not on campus all day. They come for some courses and then they have this hybrid blended option. And how do we look at that maybe based on a competency-based model instead of that traditional classroom model, and go deeper into allowing the voice and choice and some of those other pieces. I think those are two areas that really start to think about what you shared with this Uberized option. You kind of go where you're needed, but I think that aligns some of with the voice and choice of what we're trying to offer across the district for staff and students.
Exactly. Well, I love that you're thinking about that, because we really see that, you know, there's definitely a need to elevate the human intersection. We're in a social emotional moment, right? Nationally, but there's also extreme desire for almost extreme flexibility, right? I want to do this, and then I want to do that, and then I don't want to be in on Friday, right? So it's just really yanking around leadership. And so that's why we asked about the model side. Well, I want to thank you and Lana so much for sharing with us today. I can't wait to get this recording out for everyone to see. Lana, thank you. Jennifer, thank you so much. And kudos to your superintendent, who I know got pulled into an emergency today. So hopefully everything's going okay. And if you want to stay on, please do. But we're going to now move on to our next thing. Let me share my screen. Bye for now.
Thank you so much.
Okay.